Most people think retirement risk is about running out of money. But the truth is, for millions of people over 55, the biggest financial mistakes happen long before retirement even starts. They happen in conversations, casual conversations, a comment at a family dinner, a story shared with a neighbor, a quick post online. One sentence can quietly change how people see you, how they treat you, and sometimes how they target you. And the dangerous part is this usually doesn't feel risky at all. In fact, most of these conversations feel normal. You think you're just being friendly, honest, open, responsible, but after 55, certain information carries a completely different kind of weight. You're no longer just another worker or another customer. You're someone people assume has accumulated assets, savings, equity, retirement accounts, insurance policies, and decades of financial history. Whether that assumption is true or not almost doesn't matter. What matters is perception. The Federal Trade Commission estimated that older Americans lost tens of billions of dollars to fraud last year alone, and a huge amount of those scams didn't begin with some sophisticated hacker. They began with information, tiny pieces of information that people gave away freely. And once someone has enough pieces, they can build a complete picture of your financial life. That's why in this video, we're going to go through 8 things you should stop telling people after 55 if you want to protect your retirement, your privacy, and your peace of mind. The first thing you should stop telling people is how much your home is worth. This one surprises people because home values have become almost a social topic now. People casually compare prices all the time. Someone says their house doubled in value. Someone else talks about the crazy offer they got from a beer. It feels harmless, but after 55, openly discussing your home equity can create problems you never intended. The moment people know your house is worth $700,000 or $1 million or more, they stop seeing you the same way. Family members may quietly assume you're wealthier than you really are. Friends may assume easily help them financially. Contractors may quote you higher prices. Even scammers begin to categorize you differently if that information spreads. And remember, most retirees are not sitting on piles of cash even at their own expensive homes. A house value doesn't mean liquid wealth, but other people often treat it that way. This becomes especially dangerous when adult children begin mentally counting future inheritance before anything has even happened. It changes behavior slowly. Maybe they stop saving as aggressively. Maybe they assume financial help will always be available. Maybe they begin making decisions based on an asset that technically isn't even theirs. And if healthcare costs rise later in life, suddenly the house may need to be sold for care expenses instead. Then resentment starts. Expectations create tension before money ever changes hands. Instead of discussing exact values, keep conversations broad. You don't need to tell people how much equity you have or what your home could sell for. The less attention attached to your assets, the better protected you are. The second thing you should stop telling people is exactly how much debt you have paid off. Now this sounds backward because becoming debt-free is an accomplishment. People work for decades to finally eliminate mortgages, car loans, and credit card balances. Naturally, they want to celebrate it, but publicly announcing that you have no debt signals something important to other people. It signals available cash flow. The moment people believe you have extra disposable income, requests begin appearing from everywhere. Suddenly you become the reliable person people come to for help. Maybe someone needs a loan. Maybe someone has a business opportunity. Maybe a relative has an emergency. Maybe a friend wants you to consign something because you're financially stable. And psychologically, this creates pressure because people over 55 are often conditioned to become helpers. You've spent your whole life supporting children, family, co-workers, and friends. So when someone asks for help, saying no feels uncomfortable. But many retirement disasters start exactly this way. One loan becomes two. One favor becomes ongoing support. One consigned loan turns into years of liability. Studies consistently show that family-related financial support increases dramatically Once people are perceived as financially secure, the problem is retirement math is very different from working year math. During your working years, you can recover from mistakes with future income. In retirement, losses hit differently because there's less time to rebuild. Every dollar leaving your retirement plan matters more than it used to. The third thing you should stop sharing is how much you spend every month. A lot of people talk openly about their lifestyle costs after 55 because retirement planning conversations naturally drift there. People compare groceries, travel budgets, healthcare costs, taxes, insurance premiums. But when someone knows your monthly spending number, they can estimate far more about your finances than you realize. If you casually mention that you spend $6,000 a month, people immediately begin calculating your retirement assets in their heads. They estimate your income. They estimate your investments. They estimate how long your money might last. And scammers are extremely good at building profiles from partial information. This is why financial targeting has become so sophisticated. Fraud today isn't random anymore. Scammers often study behavior patterns first. They look for signs of financial stability, recent retirement transitions, or emotional vulnerability. Someone who appears comfortable financially, but uncertain technologically, becomes a prime target. And once scammers know your age group, approximate spending level, and location, they can tailor scams that sound incredibly believable. The dangerous thing is many people think scams only happen to uninformed individuals. That's completely false. Some of the largest fraud victims are educated, successful retirees because scammers specifically target trust and emotion, not intelligence. A person who spent 40 years building wealth can still be manipulated during a stressful or emotional moment. The fourth thing you should stop telling people is how much financial help you plan to give your children. This topic creates more long-term damage in families than people realize. Parents often discuss future support with good intentions. They say things like, "We'll help with the down payment," or "Don't worry, your inheritance will cover that eventually." But once expectations are created, behavior changes. Adult children may take bigger financial risks. They may delay building their own emergency savings. They may assume future support is guaranteed. And then, if market conditions change, healthcare expenses rise, or retirement income falls short, parents suddenly face an impossible emotional situation. Now they either disappoint their children or sacrifice their own financial security to maintain promises. And many retirees choose the second option because guilt becomes overwhelming. They drain retirement accounts to help children who are fully capable adults simply because expectations were established years earlier. Financial advisors see this constantly. Parents entering retirement with decent savings gradually weaken their own future by continuing to financially rescue adult children over and over again. The intention comes from love, but the result often creates dependency instead of stability. Sometimes the greatest financial gift parents can give is teaching independence rather than promising future money. The fifth thing you should stop sharing is your travel schedule. This one has become incredibly important in the social media era. People post retirement vacations constantly. Airport photos, cruise photos, hotel photos, gone for 2 weeks, living the retirement dream. It feels exciting and harmless, but publicly announcing travel plans tells people something very valuable. It tells them your home is empty, and it's not just burglars you need to think about anymore. Public travel announcements can also expose you to identity theft risks, online account targeting, and social engineering scams. Criminals know retirees often travel with financial documents, medications, laptops, and personal information. Even smaller details matter more than people realize. Posting boarding passes can expose barcode information. Posting luxury vacations signals financial status. Posting real-time locations reveals routines. The safest approach is simple. Share memories after you return, not while you're away. Keep travel timing private among only the people who genuinely need to know. The sixth thing you should stop discussing openly is your charitable giving. This one catches generous people completely off guard. Once people know you donate significant amounts to charities, religious organizations, or causes, your name often quietly circulates. Suddenly donation requests increase, fundraising calls increase, emotional pressure increases. Retirees are especially vulnerable here because many genuinely want to help others. They've reached a stage of life where meaning and contribution become more important. Scammers know this. Fake charities specifically target older adults because they understand emotional generosity can override skepticism, and legitimate organizations can unintentionally create pressure too. Once you become identified as a reliable donor, the requests rarely stop. The problem isn't generosity itself. Generosity is a wonderful thing. The problem is allowing your financial capacity to become publicly associated with your identity. The wealthiest people are often far quieter about giving than middle-income retirees. Trying to appear helpful, quiet generosity protects both your finances and your peace of mind. You can still support causes you care about without publicly discussing amounts or commitments. The seventh thing you should stop telling people is exactly when you receive large financial payments. This includes tax refunds, pension payouts, inheritance distributions, business sales, property sales, insurance settlements, or retirement account rollovers. The timing of money movement matters enormously. The weeks immediately after receiving a lump sum are when many people become most financially vulnerable. Emotions are high, decisions feel urgent, confidence can rise too quickly, and unfortunately, people around you may suddenly begin presenting opportunities, investments, partnerships, loans, business ideas, real estate deals. Scammers especially target this window because they know people handling large sums often feel overwhelmed. A retiree rolling over a $400,000 retirement account may suddenly receive convincing calls pretending to be from financial institutions. The scam works because the timing matches reality. This is why financial privacy matters so much during transition periods. You don't need to announce that money just arrived. You don't need to celebrate publicly before the funds are secured and decisions are finalized. Quiet transitions are safer transitions. And finally, the eighth thing you should stop telling people after 55 is your fears about money. This may actually be the most emotionally important one on the entire list. A lot of retirees openly talk about their fears because retirement is uncertain. They worry about inflation, healthcare, running out of money, market crashes, long-term care, and while those fears are understandable, publicly expressing financial anxiety can attract exactly the wrong people. Predatory financial salespeople specifically look for fear. Fear creates urgency. Urgency creates impulsive decisions. Someone who openly worries about losing money becomes the perfect target for expensive annuities, high-fee investments, misleading insurance products, or fake guaranteed return schemes. The pitch always sounds comforting. Protect your retirement, guaranteed income, safe returns, no market risk, and during moments of fear. Even intelligent people can make rush decisions because emotional relief becomes more important than careful analysis. This is why some of the worst financial products are sold during periods of uncertainty. Fear lowers skepticism, and retirees experiencing market volatility often feel desperate for stability. The better approach is discussing financial concerns privately with qualified professionals who have fiduciary responsibility, not casually with acquaintances or internet strangers pretending to offer solutions. Now, none of this means you should become isolated or paranoid. That's not the point. The point is understanding that after 55, your financial life enters a different phase. You've spent decades building assets, building stability, building retirement security. Protecting that requires a different level of awareness than it did at 25 or 35. Because the truth is most retirement losses don't happen overnight. They happen slowly, through small leaks, small disclosures, small pressures, small decisions that seemed harmless in the moment. One conversation here, one favor there, One piece of information shared with the wrong person. And what makes this difficult is that the people creating risk are not always strangers. Sometimes it's family, sometimes it's friends, sometimes it's people with perfectly good intentions. But retirement security depends just as much on boundaries as it does on investment returns. You do not owe everyone access to your financial life simply because they ask. Privacy is not secrecy. Privacy is protection. And one of the smartest things you can do after 55 is learn to separate friendliness from financial openness. You can still be generous, still be kind, still help people, still enjoy retirement. But you do not need to publicly narrate every detail of your finances to do that, because once information leaves your mouth, you can never fully control where it goes next. Someone repeats it to a spouse. That spouse mentions it to a friend. That friend knows someone else. And suddenly information you thought was private becomes part of a much bigger network. The people who enjoy the most peaceful retirements are often not the people with the biggest portfolios. They're the people who quietly protect what they built. They avoid unnecessary attention. They avoid unnecessary pressure. And they understand something most people learn too late. Financial security is not just about how much money you have. It's also about how well you protect it from other people's expectations, manipulation, and access. Retirement should be a season of freedom, not a season where you constantly defend your finances from pressure, guilt, scams, or outside opinions. And sometimes the strongest financial strategy isn't making more money at all. Sometimes it's simply learning what not to say.